You're watching Republic.
Hello, welcome. You're watching a very special episode of This Is Exclusive. We are coming to you live from Beijing. This is ahead of what China has been touting as one of the largest ever SCO Summit. Let's not forget, it's also two other big leaders who are going to be part of the SCO Summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin. How are things really changing on the ground? Tonight on This Is Exclusive, I not only get you some very special guests who are going to dive into what does this essentially mean for India as well as China, but what's the way forward? Keeping in mind, will this entire global South solidarity perhaps upset the equation with the West? Will that really happen, or what more? All this and much more this edition of This Is Exclusive live from Beijing. And first, let me take you through the headlines we're tracking from this side.
और जापान के स्मॉल एंड मीडियम एंटरप्राइजेस और स्टार्टअप्स को जोड़ने पर विशेष बल दिया जाएगा। मेक इन इंडिया, मेक फॉर द वर्ल्ड।
India's message to the world from Tokyo: we make in India, we will make for the world. Amid global tariff war, Prime Minister Modi to head to historic Super SCO Summit in China. Prime Minister Narendra Modi backs for stable ties with China, says stable India-China relations can have a positive impact on regional prosperity. India's growth story, unstoppable GDP growth projection for 2025-2026 Q1 at 7.8%. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching a very, very special episode of This Is Exclusive live from Beijing, just ahead of the SCO Summit, the largest ever SCO Summit since its inception. Many firsts essentially now taking place. Since 2018, this would be the first visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Are we really looking at a thawing of relations between India and China? What does this essentially mean for the two giants in the Asian market? Will that really change? Will that really mean a much more durable relationship? In fact, we have a very, very special panel that has been lined up for you, give you a sense of what's really happening here. But first, let me tell you, where am I coming live from and why this is also very significant, because I'm going to be headed to Tianjin. That's the northern port city in China where the SCO Summit is going to take place. I'll come to you live tomorrow to get you all the latest updates. But tonight, I decided that let me be here in Beijing to get you a sense of what's really happening in the business district of Beijing and how are things really changing. How are people here? How are the Chinese essentially looking at the SCO Summit? In fact, all the newspapers, news agencies have been completely flooded with regards to the SCO Summit and a clear indication as to what does China essentially look at. A power projection in the days to come, not just the SCO Summit, but also the victory parade that's lined up on 3rd of September, I beg your pardon. In fact, 26 foreign leaders will be present. Let me quickly first introduce my special guest, Yan, the Chinese diplomat, former Chinese diplomat who's been in India. On my left is an Indian businessman who's been here for quite some time. And in fact, his views on how things are really going to change and does that really have a direct impact as far as the Indian diaspora is concerned. And well, as a very interesting distinction, when I was first told that he's going to join us on this broadcast, I was also told that he's been to India and that too for the Kumbh Mela. But there is much more to his profile than he's just visiting India as far as the Kumbh Mela is concerned. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us on This Is Exclusive. This is undoubtedly a very interesting moment because for the last few years, and let me begin by asking you, for the last few years, the entire discourse was that we are becoming arch rivals. India and China are arch rivals. Perhaps they are not going to see eye to eye. Today we are standing together in Beijing, in the heart of the city. I think so we are having an eye-to-eye contact and having a conversation. What does this essentially look like ahead of the SCO Summit?
Yes, I totally agree with you that although the state-to-state relations seems up and down, but from the bottom part of our the Chinese people, and I believe that even in Indian people, that we are friends, and we should work whatever we friends, because we just need to mention that we are giant Asian countries, so we should have the wisdom to treat with each other and to communicate to have a peaceful future together. That is Chinese people's common people's wish for peace.
Ajay, you've been here for quite some time. Tell us in the last few years, because it does something we are arch rivals, perhaps eye to eye, perhaps things are but things are going to change at the ground. I want to, tell our viewers back in India, as what I said, what is the Indian diaspora right now for
Okay, firstly, to answer your question, yes, I have been long time, 18 years. Also, looking at this message, so, yeah, I did this last I think sometimes I see that and we are hoping that that they just are able to use it. Then trying to excited, that we can also this actually so I think this is very hard. That's
In fact, I'm going to put the focus of what exactly does the Indian diaspora really expect from the bilateral that's going to take place. In fact, bilateral is scheduled for the 31st in itself, so that'll be the first big bilateral that we're looking at. Well, before I get into the specifics, the brass tacks of it, Ajit says he's quite excited. How excited were you? Because you've been to India and you've seen how things have really changed. In fact, back in India, there was this entire thing about the fact that, it's the rise in nationalism. The fact that, and that is the reason why, for a very long time, the sense that many had in India, perhaps you're not going to have that high, that entire thing was not going to happen anytime soon.
Well, yes, I actually visited Kumela in 2018, and we actually did a road trip across Budapest and across Japan. And I've always been excited to return to India and go the south.
This was when?
That was back in 2018, and soon after that, the tours and visa Chinese visitors were closed. So I've been looking forward to be able to come back to everything. From a ordinary Chinese perspective, I would say right now the biggest feature for me is that a lot of Chinese people know that India was a great ancient civilization. We learned Buddhism from India. But we know very little about modern because the biological trends are so limited. So I definitely think that the Premier Modi's visit to China is a great sign to restart our biological trends. And perhaps one of the first things we do is to improve the biological whether for tourism or not.
I'll come to the business aspect again. You would understand this as a former diplomat yourself. And the challenges that both sides have essentially faced. It's about trust. The trust between Western countries and only increased since 2018. Do you believe that can be overcome right now? And if so, as a diplomat, I want to ask you this question. What would be the key focus right now as far as the summit is concerned?
Yes, very good question. I think I repeated my actually, no matter how it's done or even India's diplomats in Beijing, That is how China and India should treat each other. I see that we should treat each other just like the normal state to the state, which means that we never should regard each other as a part of other powers. China and India should treat each other even not as brothers. We should like normal countries to each other, but never be used by other countries. And no matter cultural exchange or finance or trade travel, etc. I think it will definitely benefit both of our countries' people.
Are we coming closer because of President Trump?
I think Trump is a kind of enemy, but India also has the wisdom to deal with the India-American relations. So, yes, of course, Trump has a greater influence over the world. But India and China's relations should looking forward, whether it is influenced or not by Trump. The big two countries in Asia, we should have our own style to treat each other. And I think this summit is a very good opportunity for us to sit together. As you mentioned, the eye-to-eye contact. That's the most important. And of course, as a state relations, maybe the leaders, they have their people styles. But as among people, I think that especially in India and China, we should have much more people to people relations and dialogues between us, especially the black and the dialogue. It's India's correspondent and not much means people.
Ajit, in terms of the expectations, everyone is talking about a people diet. Trade should actually increase. Having said that, China still happens to be a second largest trading partner. As a business, what are the challenges that you face? Because it's all good that things are moving, but there are mostly stuff. Let's not forget having said that, as a business, the pragmatic approach, what would you believe is required right now?
I think from our side, I hope, and I think a lot of Indian nationals that we have probably seen the worst of and that only is that of course, we are excited. At the same time, we are taking things to step by step. We see how things are going to slowly get visas and how flights and how many people actually coming in. In fact, if you really look at it, the last 2 to 3 years, the businessmen from India are actually still yes, great number. We have the visa that are given out to Indians in India from coming to China has been record numbers. However, unfortunately, the visas to the Chinese, they are leaving up. So that's where
they say that we should be pushing up the brakes.
Exactly, we should be opening because we have restaurants and have people like to get them in here. To our restaurant and say, the last time we went from India was 2019, and we didn't go back, we didn't experience it, but we are not able to go. Whether it's travel or business. So that's what we really talk about from the Indian side. Then they can really really good experience Indian like you said that this experience because somehow the clock was stopped in 2008 when it was forward started and people are kind of they don't know what's going to change. So I'm very happy that it's coming. And I was very fortunate that when he was the church, we tried in 2011, he visited actually church at that time, and I was very fortunate to serve at that time because I was working on the church. So I have very, very good, amazing memories of meeting. Yes, so yes, of course.
Let me ask you, what have we really lost in the last few years? Not just the fact that we have been able to bargain, but what have we really lost? What have the Indians really lost? And what have the Chinese really lost that last step?
Well, I work in the international trading now, but not engaging in the Indian market. So I don't directly engage in the Indian market, but pretty much everyone I talk to is really excited to I think personally think that it's a great thing that Premier Modi has been accelerating industrialization in India. And amid this trade war waged by America, this abyss of insanity that is swaying the international relations everywhere. I think it's a great time for India and China to work together to reshape the supply chain of Asia and the rest of the world. What have we lost in the past 6-7 years is that two Asian economic giants cannot build up effective economic ties. And both of us suffer from that. And I really look forward to like that.
But in fact, there was an indication that was made today by the Prime Minister when he was in Tokyo, when he essentially spoke about the fact that it should be make it in India, but make it for the world. In fact, I want you to first take a look at what the Prime Minister had to say. And then, as you can see right now, we have more people joining us. We perhaps have the largest views really coming in right now, the Indian diaspora. And of course, the two gentlemen who also taken out the time. They've traveled a long way, be with us, and to speak to all of you, to give you a sense of what were we really missing and what perhaps could be the way forward. Before that, first, let me take you through some of the details that the Prime Minister had said. This was a short while back. We're going to play that out in a short while as we prepare that. But let me first quickly get a comment from a gentleman who's joined us. Shanti, thank you very much for joining us. In fact, he's got a business that's spread across. So you would be, I would say in a way, someone who's been at a loss over the last few years if you've seen the kind of relationship that the countries have faced. I think both of them have spoken about the need for improving the people to human rights, trade, etc. But I want to ask you as an Indian, because at the end of the day, there is a sense, a discomfort that we have been dealt. How do you really overcome that discomfort? I want to ask you, does the Indian diaspora essentially feel that yes, there is discomfort, but we've been able to overcome it? What is the sense that I wanted to first understand in terms of the relationship with you?
I think over these years, we have not come so much. Yes.
You have 3 locations where you're operating. You're in Beijing, you're in Beijing.
So it's good to see that the production is coming, the momentum is coming, and we hope that they are cooperating on their side. I think with the advent of the switch, here, both in India and yes, the Prime Minister, I think that with this cooperation and with this collaboration, definitely.
Thank you very much for joining me. I want to also ask you, taking it from where we left, in terms of the soft power that we've essentially spoken about. I believe that has also taken a backseat because for a very long time, India played heavily on the soft power. In fact, you witnessed that when President Xi Jinping was in Ahmedabad, thereafter, the relations actually good. What really happened? What really happened that we saw here decline? Do you believe that is another aspect that can be touched upon?
I think for now, as I look down, I think we have our shared history. India and China have their shared history, and we will always remember that. But now, I would say everything looks promising. And yes, as you said, we worked on our soft powers. But from now on, we will go.
How has it been for you last year? And also, why don't you tell our audience what you do and how has life in China been for you?
Okay, so we moved with my husband. He works with the pharma company, Dr. Reddy's, very big name in India. So we moved with him. We are an expat family, and we live in many international families. It's been 2.5 years here. And I can say, being around all the international community, I can say China and India are so culturally and traditionally similar. So this was much awaited thing that now they join forces and work together. We know, again, I say there is history behind it, but we did learn from history and we are not repeating the same which we did before.
So in the last few years, because whenever I've spoken to some of my friends who are here, they say that look here, you have a different impression altogether and Delhi. And you're missing out. In fact, a friend here just narrated a story. He says that, in fact, when food delivery people come here, his wife gets clicked by them. So almost it felt like it's some sort of a celebrity status that many enjoy. Okay. Tell me a little bit more about, because we do not have that image at all back home. What is it like?
So when we told our families we are moving to China, they were scared. And I
Why?
because China. So they were scared. But when we moved here and we have this first-hand experience, people are so kind and welcoming. And my kids have so many friends here. Chinese, one of the Chinese gets his best friend, so he started here. So I think, and yes, getting clicked, yes, my husband got clicked every time. We have the celebrity feeling here because that time when we came here, it was after COVID. So not many foreigners were scared. Foreigners were actually scared, and we are one of the foreigners here. So we were actually scared. So yeah, we had the celebrity feeling here when people wanted to click us.
Can I just quickly take one word from each one of you in terms of what is it that you all are expecting? Because, of course, as has been pointed out, that we're looking at a people to people. But is there something more specific from the trading community, from the diplomat community? I want a quick answer from you with that specific expectation that you have, which perhaps every person is going to be happy because some are already, and the surrounding that look here, SCO Summit is going to be more about rhetoric. It's after all, you're having Geopolitical along with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Putin. It's more about power projection and under the current circumstances, particularly keeping in mind the tariff war that I want to ask you specifically, what are you doing?
I would say supply chain, just like what I did. So the manufacturing sector in the two nations have so much space to cooperate. And I think there is a misconception, there's a myth, maybe in our Indian friend side, that is America is capable to relocate their manufacturing from China to India. But if you zoom in into this, it's actually, so the American companies barely want to have supply chain cooperation. We should be citing India, China, right? To
You're seeing more cooperation, less cooperation, because if both the nations come together in terms of broadening the supply chain, it's going to benefit the business community in both of the countries, not realizing that we were perhaps unnecessarily getting into some sort of competition.
Well, if you look at China's economic history in the past 30, 40 years, the myth is that U.S. invests a lot in China, but in reality, if you look at the source of FDI, if you look at the source of the factories that moved to China, it was primarily from our neighbors. That was Southeast Asia, Taiwan, Chinese Taiwan, which is a province, and you have a lot of investment from Hong Kong. So we benefited greatly from the supply chain operations with our neighbors in the past 20 years. And it will be applicable to what happened with India and China for the future.
Yeah, just a quick word from you because I'm running short of time. As a diplomat, what are you doing?
Okay, here I just want to say that I will function of famous grandpa. His name is Michelle. And he said he predicts temperature that is in China. And what is trend? That is history, and it's also maybe about the Chinese history. That is India and China. The beauty is that culture, history, whatever, most of us has our independence, and we should appreciate each other's beauty. That we have a harmonious and right knowledge of Asia and culture. That's it from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on this special broadcast of This is Exclusive Live from Beijing. This is just the beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, over The next few days, I'm going to get you every single update, every single significant voice joining us from China as we cover the largest SCO summit.
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates: IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.